Now we'll move on to our debate. And our debate is over the chain of command. So the topic is, should a chain of command always be honored? Aspen's going to argue yes. If it doesn't, the system collapses. Marissa says no. Chains of command only stifle initiative and don't allow people to make decisions for themselves. So you each have 5 minutes to compose an opening statement. You may begin now. Does anybody need more time? Or are you ready to begin? Okay. So Aspen, yes, if it isn't, the system collapses. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement, beginning now.
The chain of command should always be followed because without it, many acts can be committed by military operations that have myopia, which means that they are only focused on the war. They are not focused on the international perspectives. A chain of command is put into process so that a civilian has control over the military, and the civilian is an elected person who has the opinions and the thoughts of the people behind them, so they have a more internationalist view. Therefore, it is important that they are listened to down the chain of command, because without it, acts like MacArthur, who wanted to contaminate enemy supplies with radioactive waste, which would have led to a war with China, which would have led to many casualties. If things like that would have happened if he did not follow the chain of command, many bad things would happen that aren't in the international view. They're in the view of his view of absolute victory. So the chain of command should always be followed, because without it, if the system collapses, many things may go in destruction, including our country, our economic state, and our military.
Okay. Marissa, no. You say chains of command only stifle initiative. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
No, chains of command shouldn't always be followed because it wastes time and it costs American lives. If we're worrying and going through the chains of command, there could be a war or a bombing, which would create more problems. There's also terrorists and people that are causing problems for America. And if we waste time going through the chain of commands, then they're out causing more problems for us, which creates more time having to go through the chain of commands. And also, not one person's decision is always the best. I feel like it's better to go through other people and not just them, and it wastes time. And if we don't always follow the chain of commands, then there's extra time to solve other things that we need to deal with, because one problem isn't always the biggest. And if we waste time going through one of them, then it's going to result in American lives, and there can be more deaths, which is going to affect all of us in the long term.
Okay, very good. Now to the counterpoints. So, Coates, you have said if it isn't, the system collapses, and that we are in danger of rogue elements operating in our military. But let me tell you this. I'll ask you this for the counterpoint. The intelligence community before 9/11 was very much bound under a chain of command. And as a result of that, there were a lot of signals that were missed by intelligence communities because they were too afraid to take the initiative and follow some of these intelligence leads that might have prevented 9/11. So how do you square that with your belief that the chain of command should always be followed?
Well, in that case, it's a mistake of the chain of command. It's not something that should make it go down. It doesn't stifle initiative. It just gives it the group opinion, which means that there's more insight. But in that case, if they could have prevented 9/11, it would have been one case where they could have made something better. But in most situations, if a person does not follow the chain of command, it can only make war worse. Like, as Marissa said, she said that the chain of command stifles initiative. And that causes a loss of American lives. But what would lose more American lives? A 2-day wait to find what they are going to do in a war, or someone moving in an act that causes a World War III. It's in that certain case, initiative was not the most effective way to make a decision, but in most cases it is the most effective way.
Okay, Marissa, do you have a rebuttal to what Aspen said? You have 1 minute.
I think in that case it is the chain's fault, because they're going through a specific amount of rules and orders that they have to go through each time to get through things like 9/11 and bombings and stuff like that. And each time they have to go through the same things, and if we waste time like that, then again it's going to cause American lives. And if we could have prevented that, that could have saved a lot of people. And if we go through that every time, think about all the bombings and stuff that could happen to American lives and all the people who are working if we could have just easily gone through it without the rules. Sometimes it's easier to go through with your instinct instead of what you believe, I guess.
Okay. Very good. Now, your counterpoint, Marissa. Do you think there is such a thing as too much initiative? And I'll give you an example. This week, the U.S. military asked for a change in the rules of engagement because they want to be more aggressive in attacking the Taliban. And the president is now weighing those decisions. While he does, there may be several people that of interest that we want that are getting away. So should they wait on the president's order, or should they act on their own in Afghanistan? What do you think? You have 1 minute.
Well, I don't think there shouldn't be any order at all, but I think if we train our people well enough, they're able to make their own decisions instead of waiting for everybody else. And I feel like if we're able to do that and we trust America enough to train everybody, then I feel like it wouldn't be as big of a problem. And if we do have to wait for president or other people to make those decisions, we're just wasting more time, which can result in things like 9/11 and bombings and stuff, which we could be using to solve other problems.
Okay. Aspen, your rebuttal.
Civilians' control over the military is very important, and if the military makes their own decisions without the opinions or the initiative from people who are under rules that protect us, then many events can occur that aren't bad. It doesn't matter training. It's like many things, like MacArthur made his own decision for his trip at Incheon, which was successful, but he wanted to make more decisions with his judgment that would have been very unsuccessful. And so I think civilians control, because civilians have an international perspective. If you let the military, who are in the countries, who are myopic on the subject of the war, trying to win it, then decisions will not be as great as they would be if they had the input and the chain of command was followed.
Okay. Judge, you have your information. It's a debate Vietnam. No one's blinking. No one's backing down.